We're continuing with the male reproductive system, chapter 25. We're looking now at PowerPoint B. And after going over the anatomy of the male reproductive system and the process of spermatogenesis, we're going to look now at the male hormones. Remember that the organs, the reproductive organs that secretes hormones, sexual hormones, are called the gonads. In the male, the gonads are going to be the testes. The testes will secrete the sex hormones, which are testosterone. However, controlling the testes are going to be anterior pituitary gonadotropic hormones, specifically gonadotropic hormones FSH and LH secreted by the anterior pituitary. However, the hormones that control the anterior pituitary secretion of FSH and LH are going to be hypothalamic hormones, specifically gonadotropic releasing hormones, which will travel from the hypothalamus via the hypothalamic hypophyseal portal system of veins to the anterior pituitary and will stimulate the anterior pituitary to secreting gonadotropic hormones FSH and LH. FSH stands for follicle stimulated hormone. In males, this hormone stimulates sustentacular cells of the seminiferous tubules of the testes to release an androgen-binding protein, ABT, which makes spermatocytes receptive to testosterone, and testosterone in turn will stimulate the maturation of spermatocytes. The other gonadotropic hormone secreted by the anterior pituitary is LH, which stands for luteinizing hormone, which stimulates the interstitial cells in the testes to release the sex hormone, testosterone. These play of hormones from GnRH, gonadotropic releasing hormone of the hypothalamus, to FSH and LH of the anterior pituitary to testosterone of the testes is called the HPG axis, hypothalamus, pituitary, and the gonads. So again, the HPG axis is the play between the hypothalamus, the anterior pituitary, and the gonads that result in the secretion of the sex hormone, testosterone, by the testes. So this is the final trigger for spermatogenesis. This is controlled via a feedback inhibition loop. High levels of sperm will inhibit the hypothalamus and the pituitary from secreting their hormones. GnRH in the case of the hypothalamus, and LH and FSH in the case of the anterior pituitary. So this is triggered by rising levels of testosterone, which will result in high levels of spermatozoa. Another hormone, in this case secreted by the sustentacular cells, will also inhibit secretion of GnRH, LH, and FSH, and that is the inhibin hormone. So high levels of testosterone will inhibit GnRH, LH, and FSH, as will the secretion of the hormone called inhibin that will also shut down GnRH, LH, and FSH. So this is the feedback loop that prevents excessive secretion of testosterone. Okay, so let's go over these again. First, we have the hypothalamus secreting the hormone, gonadotropic releasing hormone, or GnRH, which is going to affect the anterior pituitary into secreting their gonadotropic hormones, FSH and LH. FSH and LH act on the testes. LH stimulates interstitial cells of the testes into secreting testosterone, while FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, is going to stimulate sustentacular cells into secreting androgen-binding proteins that make the developing spermatocytes more receptive to testosterone. This results in sperm production. So LH causes the secretion of testosterone, while FSH causes spermatocytes to be more receptive to testosterone. Testosterone affects other organs of the body, creating what we call secondary sexual characteristics of males, which will be things like development of muscles, development of facial and pubic hair, deepening of the voice, etc. Right, as testosterone levels continue to rise, this will cause a feedback loop that will inhibit the anterior pituitary and the hypothalamus into secreting their hormones. Also, high levels of testosterone will cause the sustentacular cells to secrete a hormone called inhibin that will inhibit the anterior pituitary from secreting LH and FSH. This is another depiction of the same play of hormones, but this is a little bit different from a different textbook. Here you have GnRH traveling to the anterior pituitary and causing secretion of FSH and LH. They both travel to the testes. FSH affects sustentacular cells in the seminiferous tubules to secreting the protein that will make spermatocytes more receptive to testosterone. LH, on the other hand, is going to cause the interstitial cell of the testes into secreting testosterone. Now, notice what testosterone is going to do. Testosterone also stimulates the seminiferous tubules into making the spermatozoa more receptive to itself, to testosterone. This is going to increase production of sperm, spermatogenesis. Interstitial cells secrete testosterone, which is also going to be responsible for secondary male sexual characteristics. High levels of testosterone are going to come back and create a feedback loop that is going to shut down the anterior pituitary and the hypothalamus. By the same token, high levels of testosterone will cause sustentacular cells to secrete the hormone inhibin that will shut down anterior pituitary hormones. So testosterone is the male sex hormone. It's a steroid hormone synthesized from cholesterol. Testosterone affects target cells, not only the testes, the seminiferous tubules and sustentacular cells, but also the prostate gland, and some of it may turn into estrogen, which will affect the brain. It also creates DHT that affects other organs. The hormone testosterone promotes spermatogenesis, targets all accessory organs to develop, which means that low levels of testosterone will cause atrophy of male sexual organs like prostate gland, seminal vesicle, and bulbourethral gland. Testosterone has an anabolic effect throughout the body, increases muscle and bone size. This is part of the secondary sexual characteristics of males. Testosterone also is the basis for sex drive in males. So male secondary sex characteristics are initiated and maintained by testosterone. You should know what these characteristics are: the appearance of pubic, axillary, and facial hair, the enhanced growth of the chest and deepening of the voice as the thyroid cartilage thickens, skin thickens and becomes more oily, bones and skeletal muscle grow and increase in density. So you should be able to explain the relationship between the hypothalamus and the secretion of FSH and LH, and what are the functions of FSH and LH in males. You should explain the negative feedback loop that results as the levels of testosterone increase. Remember what is inhibin, the cells that secrete inhibin, the sustentacular cells in the testes, and what is the function on inhibin. You should be able to list the effects of testosterone in males and list the male secondary sexual characteristics and testosterone as the sex hormone that maintains these characteristics. This is going to conclude Chapter 25, PowerPoint B, Male Reproductive System. We're going to pick up the same PowerPoint as we looked at the female reproductive system.